Title: The Labyrinth of Echoes. Chapter 1: The Whisper of the Mountain. In the village of Eloan, nestled between emerald hills and shadowed forests, tales of an ancient labyrinth hidden in the mountains echoed through the elders. It was called the Labyrinth of Echoes, a mystical maze said to test the soul and grant wisdom or madness to those who dared enter. 17-year-old Cale, a curious and restless boy with a mop of unruly dark hair and eyes the color of storm clouds, had grown weary of the village's quiet life. He wanted more: adventure, truth, a sense of purpose. "You'll find more danger than glory in those tales," warned old Merrick, the village storyteller, tapping his crooked staff against the hearth one night. "The labyrinth listens. It reflects what you carry in your heart." Many went in. Few returned. But Cale wasn't frightened. One early morning, with a pack full of dried meats, water, and his father's old compass, Cale slipped away from Eloan and trekked toward the mist-veiled mountains. Chapter 2: Into the Maze. The entrance of the labyrinth was hidden behind a waterfall. Cale discovered it by accident. Well, not accident, but instinct. A faint humming led him to the cascading water, and behind it, a gaping archway carved in obsidian-black stone. He stepped inside. Immediately, the light behind him dimmed, replaced by flickering blue flames from torches that ignited on their own. The walls shimmered, and Cale heard faint whispers. "Turn back. Find yourself. Prove your worth." Unshaken, he pressed forward. The first chamber was a hall of mirrors. But these mirrors did not reflect his body. They reflected moments of his life: arguments with his mother, stealing a coin from the market, mocking a friend who cried. Cale backed away, heart pounding, but the door forward wouldn't open. A voice echoed, "Face your reflections with truth." Cale realized the labyrinth wasn't testing strength or cunning. It was testing something deeper. Gritting his teeth, he whispered apologies to the mirrors, facing each moment with honesty. A warm breeze swept through the hall, and the door creaked open. Forgotten voices. The next section of the labyrinth transformed into a wild forest. Inside the mountain, strange, luminous trees twisted toward the sky. Cale heard voices, familiar ones: his late father's laughter, his sister's lullaby. But the deeper he went, the louder they became, morphing into shouts, cries, then screams. Shapes moved between the trees, ghosts of people he knew. A shadow blocked his path, a dark version of himself with glowing eyes. "You left them. You always leave," it hissed. Cale stood frozen. Then he remembered what old Merrick said. "It reflects what you carry in your heart." "I was afraid," Cale said aloud. "Afraid I'd never be enough. I didn't leave to run away. I left to find how to be more." The shadow blinked, then smiled. It faded into mist, and the forest went silent. The path forward cleared. Choices? Cale reached a grand chamber of floating platforms suspended in a void. Each platform had an item: a sword, a crown, a scroll, a mirror, and a seed. A voice boomed, "Choose what you seek most." Cale considered. The sword offered power, the crown, leadership, the scroll, knowledge, the mirror, understanding, the seed, potential. He stared at the seed. Small, simple, easy to ignore, but it reminded him of his home. His mother planting herbs, his father carving wood, his sister laughing among wildflowers. "I choose the seed," he said, lifting it. The platforms vanished. The seed glowed and sprouted into a small tree, wrapping its roots around Cale's wrist like a bracelet. The tree whispered, "You have chosen growth." A final door appeared. Chapter 5: The Heart of the Labyrinth. Cale entered a sunlit glade, impossibly real and untouched. In the center was a pool of still water. He approached and looked in. He saw himself, but not as he was. He saw who he could become. Strong, kind, wise, with pain behind his eyes and peace in his heart. Tears pricked his eyes. "I don't know if I'm ready," he whispered. The water rippled and answered, "No one is ever ready for who they must become, but growth comes not from certainty, but from the courage to begin." As Kyle knelt by the water, the labyrinth shimmered, then faded. When he stood up, he was on the mountainside. The sun was rising, and though the journey was over, he knew the real adventure had just begun. Epilogue. Return to Elo and Kyle returned to the village, not as a boy who ran from home, but as a young man who had faced himself. He shared what he'd learned about truth, fear, choice, and growth. He helped rebuild homes, mentored younger children, and tended gardens with his mother. He still craved adventure, but now he understood. Adventure wasn't always about what was out there. Sometimes the deepest journeys happened within. Moral of the story: true adventure lies not in the distance you travel, but in the courage to face yourself. Growth comes from honesty, humility, and choosing potential over power.